Hello everybody, and thanks for stopping by. I got another video here for you today. This is page 2 of The Irrelevant Elephant, a book by Melinda Kaufman. And right here you can see me doing some line work, and you have the elephant, which is Ellie, and the girl, which is Lily, and they're outside and starting to build a little scene here. It's a birthday party, and you'll see that other image pop up every now and again. I'm doing it for color reference, try to keep all my colors similar despite different environments and whatnot. I just wanted the cohesive color scheme to kind of flow throughout the video here. And as usual, I'm just going around filling in, my basic colors and fixing any, I guess, gaps that are left whenever you use the selection tool, because it does tend to leave a bit of space that isn't quite filled in. So you got to go back through and make sure you get all those areas filled in and taken care of. And throughout this process, I just sit there and I'm trying to decide, like colors for Ellie and what the shading and lighting should be, and just trying to make sure I overall have the image filled in and covered in, colored in. It's basically cell shading. And I think the most important aspect in this image for me is just getting a pleasant color palette, making sure that everything does look good. And, I do make corrections here and there, trying to fix some stuff. You may see me go through a couple different pinks here for Ellie. I can't remember if I edited those in or out. And here you actually see me make a bit of a mistake. I was going to have the sun kind of implied up above where they're at right now, but it should be bluer up top and lighter, more gray down towards the horizon if you want a realistic look for outside. You can observe this just by going outside on a sunny day, and it's usually much bluer directly up as opposed to towards the horizon. I'm pretty sure I'm getting that right. So like when it's gray like that, it kind of makes it just look like an overcast, cloudy day, which I believe I fix at some point. I recognize my mistake, because I was going to kind of have more of like a yellowish color kind of shining in from the sun, but I don't think I ever went with that. I'm recording these voiceovers a couple months from when I actually drew them, so keeping them all straight is a bit difficult, but I hope you guys bear with me as I try to kind of explain the process. And most importantly, I'm just going through and all these are gonna basically be flat colors, and then I will add the highlights and the shadows later on. And I tend to go a little more realistic with backgrounds, and not much. I mean, it's still pretty all pretty cartoony, which is how I want the overall image to look throughout the entire process, because that's how I started out. And the client expressed her wishes that she wanted something a little more cartoonish, less realistic, and I was more than happy to oblige. It is a little more complicated for me because I do normally work more towards realism. I mean, I still have a very child illustrative kind of look, but most of the time I do tend to lean a little more towards realistic shadows and lights and shading, whereas in this there isn't a whole lot of shading on the characters, not as far as blending between shadows and lights. You see me back here just working on this fence, trying to figure out, exactly how I want that to look. I think it's about time to start working on the cake here. And no, more grass back in the background. Can't miss those tiny details. I can't tell you how many times I've had to go back during a drawing and fix things that I miss. And you'll notice that, if you're an artist yourself and you're working on an image, and you'll get through and you'll be like, all right, I'm finished. I nailed it. I got what I wanted, or close to what I wanted. And then you'll start looking back through it and be like, oh man, I missed this shadow, or I missed this detail. Like it just, it's constant, and you got to kind of keep track of it as you go along, and it's important, sometimes just to give whatever image you're working on. Like it's important to flip the image for one thing. I'm not sure if I'll do that throughout this process. You may see it, you may not, but it definitely helps you to view the image with a fresh eye, almost like it's a completely new image, like it's not something you've been working on for however long. Yeah, you see here, I'm trying to figure out the pink I want to go with for Ellie, and I kind of wanted to dull her down and not be so pink. But given the saturation of the colors, I thought it was best to stick with what I had. And then you see me bring in more of a desaturated pink, kind of a grayed down pink, to kind of help balance out the more intense pink. And I'm just going through trying to figure out what color I want the table to be, because I hadn't really planned it out yet. And right there, as soon as I put in that color, I was like, yep, that's it. That's what I want, because I want colors that look good together, but I also want them to be saturated for this book. I actually went with a lot of highly saturated colors, which normally I wouldn't. In my normal artwork, I tend to lean more towards gray or duller colors, which is somewhat of a problem. But here I am just kind of filling in the cake, trying to make it like white with a purple icing. I think that looks really good to kind of offset the pink that Ellie is. And it's a slightly different purple than their bow or Lily's little tutu. And here I am just working on the plates. And I believe I'll incorporate some more purples and pinks or something in here. I like to kind of dash collars, similar collars around the palette, so it kind of pulls the whole thing together. Or slight see, there's just like I think that's the collar of Lily's toenails right there. But it looks purplish pink when it's actually on the plate. And you see that's all really scribbly. I'm just trying to imply that it's, more of a decorative, fun type of paper plate without getting too heavy into detail and making it like try to look super exact or bring in any photo imagery or anything like that. I want everything to just be nice and playful and not very serious, And combining my collars here together, you see I've kind of pulled from like the balloons up there, and you see those two yellows, the cups and the present in the background are the same yellow. Just trying to bounce similar collars around so everything kind of pulls together, It's like everything's kind of shaking hands and not getting too far apart. That way the whole thing kind of, it looks better to the eye than if you just do, like your primary colors like yellow, red, and blue. If you do colors too strongly, it makes the image look weird and it's kind of off-putting, at least to me. Some people can pull it off. Some people are fantastic, but my experience hasn't been too good with that. And here you see me just putting in highlights, trying to make things look a little more realistic without getting, super realistic. Just basic lights and shadows to imply some depth. And sometimes when I'm recording, I walk away from the computer and then I come back and I forget to hit record. So sometimes you'll see like a little skip or something. Now you see what I did there on that yellow as I'm doing little like scratchy little lines, and I'll do it some more throughout this image, but it's just something I've been playing around with. It just kind of like a texture effect without really using a texture. It just adds variation to the image, which I think creates interest. I mean, that's my opinion. I'm the artist, and other people might not perceive it that way, but I really like it. It could give it the kind of perception of maybe being beat up, but I don't know. If the edges were more banged up and dented in and stuff like that, I would think that, but it's just, playing around and having fun. I think that's one of the most important things about doing art, and experimenting. You got to keep trying different stuff, especially if you're unhappy with something in your image. You're obviously, like, your brain is trying to tell you you're doing something wrong and you need to fix something. So that's a good time to just play around, or maybe research other artists, see what they do, and what you like about what they do. And if you can figure out what they're doing and why they're doing it, then it can help you in your own artwork. And as you can see here, I didn't make the shadow for the plate very tall. So I was like, oh my gosh, look at the shadow for these cups. I got to shorten that down. And I actually ended up shortening it down quite a bit. And I went back in and I bumped down the intensity of that shadow quite a bit. It was pulling way too much attention. And I don't want the shadows to be the focus of my image. So, I'm not going to put as much contrast in those areas. Here I am just filling out more shadows on the table. You'll see here in the back, I was trying to figure out exactly how to convey Ellie's shadow, because she's got a bunch of like weird shapes. I was going to do her arm there, but I was like, nah, that doesn't look right, and it's fidgeting around with it. And eventually I was like, you know what, I'm just going to fill all of this in. And I think that was the best way to go. I think it looks the best. Now, as I was watching this video, I was sweating a little bit here because Lily has a shadow that's supposed to go on the table, and I waited till the very last minute to put it in. I was like, oh my god, did I forget to put this shadow in? And I was so nervous because I'd already sent all these drawings to the client and everything, and it would have been super embarrassing if I had actually forgot to put Lily's shadow in there as well. So as you can see, it's all really basic. As long as you have your line work done, this type of artwork isn't terribly difficult. The most challenging part is just picking your colors and your palette, making sure that things look good together, and then as long as you have basic idea of where shadows should fall and what shapes should look like when they're in shadow or in light, you'll just breeze right through this kind of illustration. And you'll see here in a second, I'm trying to figure out her hair, how I want to do it. Normally I would probably use a bit more of an airbrush in some areas and then put some sharp lines. And I think I tried to, but I wasn't happy with it. You see there in the back on the fence, I'm putting a shadow down towards the bottom because it helps push that back and push Lily and Ellie up front a little bit. I kind of fixed the sky a bit there. I don't know if I went the full way. I know there's another image that I work on later on where I make sure to get it right, because if you look at it right now, it looks kind of overcast, and that's what happens when you have the sky further away from the horizon being more light than the horizon itself. It should be bluer. Just going through, and I'm playing around here trying to figure out exactly what I want to do with Ellie's highlights. And you'll see I add some more of these little scratchy kind of paint marks, as in lines. And I actually really liked it for this image. I thought it made it look more playful, like colored pencils or pastels, something like that. But we're getting close to finish here. And you'll see at the very end I have the JPEG, so you can just look at that. But if anybody has any questions or comments, you'd like to know exactly why I do things or what's going on, maybe I missed something in this video you thought you could use an answer to or something, just leave me a comment. And if you like this kind of stuff, I'd appreciate a thumbs up. And I hope you come back for more, because I have my own book that I'm working on, and I'll be releasing some images for that here pretty soon. And I think you guys will really like them. Other than that, take care, everybody. Bye-bye.